Alita Battle Angel came out in February of 2019 to strong headwinds. Predicted to be a $200 million box office flop, the movie overperformed at the box office to the tune of $405 million and developed a passionate community, hoping to get a sequel and fighting through word of mouth to increase BluRay sales. It's already been described as a cult classic, with supporters calling themselves Alita Army. The movie star Rosa Salazar acknowledged the fans, noting that the BluRay sales are critical for a sequel to happen.
Hi, Alita Army. What's up, guys? Buy those Blu-rays, baby!
The Numbers has finally reported first week Alita Blu-ray sales, with the movie ending at number 1. The movie quickly flew off the shelves, selling out in many locations, as well as the Blu-ray Steelbook at Best Buy selling out, and the limited edition collector's box set, though coming in below the estimates we had projected. In this video, we compare it to 15 other top movies of the last couple years, predicting how many units it'll finally sell, what the overall revenue would be, as in some ways Alita is actually overperforming based on the initial box office results. And while the movie came in lower than expected, analyzing prior movies, every so often one of these movies continues to rise throughout its run. I'll show you which those are, and how their similarities for Alita mean a hope for a sequel is definitely not lost. The Doctor is in. What's up guys, Doc Ito here with an Alita update. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any of Doc Ito's free repairs. And remember to buy those Blu-rays, baby, if you haven't done so already. You can find some Amazon links below. As expected, Alita was the number 1 movie of the week for its first week in release. Now, we're only now getting these numbers because it takes some time for the website The Numbers to compile the data, with the current estimate for Alita being at 337,102 units for the Blu-ray, and currently we're still waiting on DVD numbers, which are typically a fraction of the Blu-ray sales. For instance, last week Shazam had 180,000 DVDs for about 3 million, compared to 450,000 Blu-rays for 11 million. So the Blu-ray is definitely the most important thing. Now these numbers are below estimates. We were trying to gauge how much Alita would sell by market share, and the latest update for the first week was around 500,000 units, and we came in a little bit below that. These are still estimates. The Numbers does update data as the weeks go by. Shazam was reported at 463,000 units on the Internet Archive for its first week, but is now revised down to 452,000 units, as they received more data in. Here's Captain Marvel. Initially they thought it made 1.26 million units in its first week, but the numbers now are only 950,000. So it's possible Alita's numbers could definitely go up or down as time goes by, as they received more data coming in. So we'll see, hopefully these numbers get revised upward. But overall, we're dealing with 300,000 units, just over, and almost 7 million in spending at the US home video Blu-ray market. Throw in the DVD and digital numbers, and we're most likely over 10 million spent. Now, is this good or not? Of course, we were all hoping to get numbers much higher than this. But let's take a look at the data. Most anticipated movies. Angel has fallen. No. Alita Fallen Angel. I think that's what you meant. I've compiled here 15 other movies to compare to Alita Battle Angel, a bunch of them starting out at similar numbers to Alita in its first week, and some of them being the top movies of the last few years, to get a gauge of how movies trend over several weeks once they release on Blu-ray, and where Alita matches up. So let's start here at the top. This is Aquaman. Came out with 1.2 million Blu-rays sold in the first week, and then it continues to go up, now at about 2 million units sold. Here's Bohemian Rhapsody. You see it leveled off quicker, finished with about 1.7 so far. Here's Captain Marvel, right around 1 million, and it's going up very similar to Aquaman's values. This is Fantastic Beasts, kind of leveled off, starting at 800,000, now at 1.3 million. This yellow line gives us some hope. This is Pacific Rim, the initial Pacific Rim. 6 years ago, Blu-rays were selling a lot more. It had 850,000 units initially, but it continued to make money selling Blu-rays over the years, and has made it to 1.9 million right now. The way I analyze this data is I look at a multiplier. How much sales did a movie have in its first week, like How to Train Your Dragon, 300,000, and where is it at the end? Now, of course, How to Train Your Dragon is not over, but so far, it sold 2.2 times the initial first week value. If you take all of these movies that have been out for several months to years, on average, the multipliers end up being right around 2, with 2.25 being the number on these 15 movies that I analyzed. There's a few movies that are much higher, specifically Ready Player One, which is now at 3.3 times its initial release, starting off very similar to Alita at 327,000 units and finishing at 1 million so far from the last reported numbers. It had a massive bump going from 700,000 units sold to a million almost on November 25th, 2018. What was this? The week of Black Friday. And this Black Friday week can be very helpful for a movie like Alita, because movies often get a bump in sales. Here's Wonder Woman. Black Friday week, huge bump, another 200,000 movies sold. The next year, Black Friday, another 250,000. These are on the DVDs. But the same type of bump happens on the Blu-ray side, and the week of Christmas is also very popular. So I do think Alita is going to get a significant bump this holiday season. But where exactly could it end up? Let's take a look at movies now that just started around Alita's values. So these are the different movies, and Alita is this flat line down here. Of course it's going to go up, but it just makes it easier for you to see where we're starting. Here's Ralph Breaks the Internet, 480,000 initially. Blade Runner, 450. Bumblebee, 440, Stars Born, Mary Poppins, Ready Player One, all right around where Alita started, and then Pacific Rim Uprising and Lego Movie below. So you see, if we trend Alita up, she's probably going to end up right around this range, anywhere from 750,000 to 600,000. But Ready Player One had that massive bump that I mentioned, getting it up to over a million. And Ready Player One, I think, is a very similar movie in the sense that it's a sci-fi movie, somewhat of a new IP, with a relatively passionate fan base, although not as passionate as the Alita fans. So I do think that Alita is going to have legs. It's going to have legs on Blu-ray. It's not going to be like a movie that fizzles out, because people are going to continue to see Alita. We're going to tell our friends. We're going to get more people into the movie, and the Blu-ray sales are going to continue. This is not a one-week race. This is a marathon, because we do not stand by in the presence of evil, and we will continue to fight for Alita because we need the sequel. And I'll run the numbers in a little bit, showing how much money we're probably looking at based on these projections. But using those multipliers, if it doesn't get a massive bump, if it behaves like average, we're probably going to finish with about 750,000 units, at least over the next year or so. But a movie like Pacific Rim continued to rise as the months and years go by, and I think the same thing is going to happen to Alita also. And another thing I wanted to look at is, with Alita selling 337,000 units, how is that compared to how much money it made in theaters? Because we know the US domestic market was not that great for Alita, since it received a very harsh reviews from critics and didn't receive the support it needed, with Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook going down, and the marketing really being suspect for the movie itself. So if you compare a movie like How to Train Your Dragon 3, it made $160 million in the US, but only sold 345,000 units. Mary Poppins, $172 million in the US, it only sold 350,000 units. Even Ready Player One, with $138 million in the US domestic market, sold 330,000 units. So I ran these numbers for these movies. I ignored Bohemian Rhapsody because I think a lot of people bought that on Blu-ray so they could listen to the music at home. But if you take the other movies released in the last couple years, on average, they are selling around 3,000 Blu-rays for every $1 million made at the box office. Alita sold about 4,000 Blu-rays for every $1 million made at the box office. So Alita is actually selling about 33% higher than it should be selling based on its box office performance in the US, which is speaking to the passionate fan base and word of mouth getting these Blu-ray sales up. And this is going to continue, and these numbers are going to continue to go up. So let's see about how much money will the movie actually make if it finishes around 750,000. Here's The Grinch, 650,000 Blu-ray units, 470 DVDs, 16 million Blu-ray, 8 DVD, about 25 million. So if we get to 750, you're probably looking at $30 million or so in the Blu-ray market. Before we started looking at the numbers, I thought 50 million would be a fantastic number for Alita to get, and anything beyond that would be definitely in the sequel territory. At 30 million, it's a plus minus, but there is hope that the international overseas market is going to be stronger, especially since the US market was weaker to begin with from a box office standpoint as well. Here's another movie, Dumbo, sold about 700,000 Blu-rays so far, with a revenue right around 20 million, pretty similar to the range we were just talking about. Alita is probably going to be higher because it sold a lot of movies on the 4K UHD premium side. Here's the Lego Movie 2, 540,000 sold so far, right around 20 million also. Again, 25 to 30 million would be the predicted number over this first year for Alita. Shazam is at 570,000 already. It actually made 450 in its first week, higher than Alita, but of course, as expected, 140 million was its box office. Doing the same math I did before, you're looking at about 3,000 Blu-rays, 3,200 per $1 million. So again, Alita is overperforming based on its box office results. A Star is Born sold around 720,000 Blu-rays, right around 35 million on the revenue side. Ralph Breaks the Internet a little bit higher at 890,000 with 35 million on the revenue. And Pacific Rim Uprising, 500,000 units, 20 million. So overall, we're probably looking at about 25 to 30 million at least for Alita if it doesn't overperform at all. And I think the movie's going to overperform as word of mouth is going to continue to be strong for this movie. So a lot of people are somewhat disappointed with these numbers, and frankly, I am somewhat disappointed too, but that just means we have to fight even more because we know these Blu-rays are important. I think we just had some lofty expectations. While the movie is overperforming, meaning that our efforts are working, it's going to be a while before a lot of people realize that Alita was a fantastic movie, and that's where the negative reviews from the media really hurt the movie. But if we continue to share the movie with those around us, recommending it to them, it'll continue to sell well, and overall these are respectable numbers and don't necessarily rule out a sequel, since we are overperforming based on the box office numbers. We will continue to monitor the situation. Hopefully, once the numbers updates next week, Alita will get a bump up, but sometimes it goes down, like Shazam actually got revised down from one week to the next. And this is a waiting game. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Y'all have a great day. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon. Doc out.